Blessings, blessings, and good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today on this beautiful, beautiful spring day. Happy spring, everyone. Wow, what a gift. What a gift. The changing of the cycles of the seasons. It is such a beautiful blessing to be with you, to be here now. Breathe it in, the now moment. We are all here together today, and I'm so very grateful that you are here. Thank you, everyone, for subscribing, all of the new subscribers here to this channel. I'm so very grateful. Please like, comment, share. If you're here right now and you appreciate the information I share, do give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for dropping a line in the comment box. We're going to check in on that in a while. I feel so very blessed, and I pray that you do too. If you remember last week, we were talking about releasing ourselves from mass consciousness. And I'm wondering, the invitation last week was for you to show up today and dawn a part of yourself that perhaps has been asleep or has been hiding, or a part of yourself that wants to wake up to a truer version of who you are, to a deeper sense of who you can be deep within yourself. And that could be dawning a different hairdo. That could be donning, if you always wear black, it could be wearing purple, right? It could be any way that you feel to show up that represents more of the true part of you, more of the authentic part of you. So I'm wondering if you showed up today for the party, dawning a new expression of who you are, a different fractal of the expression of who you know you truly are, and those parts of you that are waiting to be given life within you. I'm just curious if you did, in fact, show up this morning in that way. I'm going to take a little sip of water, and we're going to get started this morning talking about being free of karma by living our Dharma. So these are big, heavyweight words. Karma. For the most of us, we have an idea of what this means. We've been taught maybe in practices, in spiritual realms and sects, that this has to do specifically where every action has a certain reaction, right? Every cause has an effect. And I wanted to read, I'm going to be doing a lot of little bits of reading here and there, so we can think about good karma and bad karma. Karma has a dual nature, and it keeps us bound in the realm of duality, right? And someone, a dear friend of mine, posted recently on Instagram that your body is eavesdropping on every thought that you have, right? But also the universe is eavesdropping on every thought that you have. And if we know this, we can consider that every thought we have, every feeling we have, every word we express, right, becomes stored in our body and becomes stored in that hologram, that body of collective consciousness, of the grid, of the matrix. And it is here then where that information is stored that it then gets fed back to us. And so if our body is eavesdropping, and with every thought we're having, if the thoughts are of a non-dual nature, meaning if they are grounded in the now moment, grounded from a space of love and of light, then the karmas that we will receive from having those said thoughts are going to be pure. They're going to be in alignment with keeping us on that trajectory, that mastery trajectory of perpetuating a realm that is in alignment and in attunement with that love, with that frequency, right? That keeps us innately aligned with the truth in our hearts. And we know if we plant seeds within us of thoughts that are negative, that are self-limiting, that cause self-doubt, then that's what we are in fact going to be tied to and interconnected to. And that's going to be the way that we perceive ourselves, the way that we co-create our reality here on this plane. And so what thoughts, what seeds are we constantly conjuring within ourselves that are perpetuating certain karmas, certain cycles, certain patterns in our life? You know, and an ex-boyfriend of mine, I remember he really said something once that just took it to another level for me, speaking of karma. And we think about, if you're familiar with John Lennon, and there's a line in one of his songs where he says that, instant karma is going to get you. And really, karma is instant. We think about, maybe it's like something we did in the past that's going to come back and get us in the future, whether we consider that's good or something bad, right? Yet really, the moment that we initiate a thought, an action, a word, a deed in the strata of self and through the strata of the universe, it is instantly like a seed planted in our consciousness, planted in our body's wisdom, and planted, those chimes are going crazy out there, and planted through that grid matrix of the universe. And again, that's what's going to nourish us, going to feed us and sustain us. So what are we planting? What are we co-creating? Right? That is always where we come back to this question, so that we can drop deeper into a realm of being a conscious co-creator and not a victim of our circumstances. So karma is instant. And the instant we have that thought that is negative, that is judging, that is withholding love towards ourselves or towards others, we are in fact saying, that's how I feel, and that's how I'm going to resonate. And there's so many karmas that are locked in our subconscious that as we move forward on our spiritual journey, we come to realize and recognize how deeply driven we are from these past actions. Perhaps it is from a past life or from something that happened in our past. And I'm going to tell you a little story. As many of you know, I am an author, and I am a practicing Reiki master since 2001. I have a book called The Reiki Apprentice. All of my links are down in the Show More box to all of my books and all of my information, so please have a look. But in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, it's basically a huge story of my spiritual comeuppance. I think of it as a Shirley MacLaine Out on a Limb meets Carlos Castaneda, A Separate Reality meets Eat, Pray, Love, right? It's more of a metaphysical, mystical version of Eat, Pray, Love. And based on me being initiated through my healing process of Reiki. Well, my story coming in is that when I was young, I was sexually abused, and I had been told stories about the world that caused me fear, that caused me to feel that the world was an unsafe, unfair place to be, especially as a woman in the world. I was bullied, like incessantly, just bullied and bullied and bullied for years in my youth. So it's interesting. There was a time where I received a fortune reading, a reading from a master in India. And this was done over Skype, and they read my palm leaves. If you've ever heard of that, it's a very interesting thing to look up. Apparently, there's a sacred chamber where all of our fates to a certain order have been written millions and millions of years ago, we can imagine, or even if you imagine thousands and thousands of years ago, if millions is too far for us to go back, where you and all of your information is written. It's almost like a written version of what could be in the Akashic records, okay, of you, who you are, who your parents are, what your certain fates are along this lifetime. And it has past life information there too. Well, this Indian master guru guy gets on the Skype and he starts reading my palm leaves, and he tells me about my past life. And he tells me that in my most recent past life, I was a master with life force energy, that I had a certain mastery in martial arts and in using chi, in using prana, in using life force. Yet he said that I was a bully with it. I was not using it in a conscious, light-filled way. And in that way, that I caused harm to many people, because I would be the one picking a fight, wanting to prove myself out in the world. And I thought, wow, this is a trip. This person knows nothing about me. Yet my whole initial journey from my youth has to do with me being bullied. And so we think about karmas and we think, oh, from a past life, are there things, are there ways that we have been that have now created certain conditions in this life for us to have certain lessons, for us to go through certain cycles. Now, and here's the cool thing about karmas though. Whatever you feel your karma is or isn't, but let's talk about what we think our karma is that there are cycles. once we realize, once we heal from these lessons, from these incidences, from these aspects, we never have to go back there again. And that's how I feel. I feel that I had come up through certain levels of my healing, through forgiveness, and through really relinquishing who I thought I was, relinquishing the stories that I was told as a child that made me fear the world, that made me fear my own power. And as I laid those down and blessed them, and believe me, it's work, and there's cycles. We go through the cycles of it. But eventually, and it took me until my early 40s where I finally am at this feeling realization where I am free. I am free of the past. I am free of those karmas. I no longer have and hold the beliefs, the thoughts, right, subconsciously and through every level of my being that give rise to those realities being fed, and those realities then in turn showing up for me in this life. I am free, and you can be free too. So I want to keep reading here. I did make some notes last night, and okay, so you can live free of karma, and you can live free of the world's set of circumstances that you find yourself in. So for example, our culture, right, passes on karmas to us. Social situations give us information that we can become bound to and that we can fight and perpetuate against, right? Whether, and this is a big one, but I was meditating, and I really say this just from my heart as an idea. But we can imagine in a bubble of light that what if all of the people in the world who have felt deeply oppressed and have been told that their people have been oppressed for many, many cycles, many generations, and where they have been passed on this information of oppression, of feeling that they are not worthy to be alive. For example, say you have been brought up and you've been told by your family and your culture that you were slaves, and that there is a story attached to that. And now it colors how you see the world and how you see black and white, social justice or social injustice. And believe me, on the 3D realm, there is no judgment. What your heart calls you to stand for, to occupy, to be present in is your guided divine path. There's nothing, I'm not saying there's nothing right or wrong about any of that. Yet, when we perpetuate the stories we've been told, we perpetuate the story, we perpetuate the karma. And ultimately, when we start living from a space of Dharma, which we'll define here shortly, we start to unravel our interconnectedness with those stories and with identifying. What if everyone who has been told that their people has been a slave or who had been oppressed in some way suddenly decided that they were going to drop that story, that they were not going to live from this moment forward with all of those stories attached to then how they see themselves and how they see the world now? That is massive, right? Mass consciousness would have such a big shift if all of a sudden there was a releasing of the story. My Reiki teacher used to say, is a sergeant if no one salutes? Like if you don't pay attention to something really deeply, not like you're ignoring it, but if you allow yourself to see beyond the veils of the stories and choose to come from a place of truth within your heart, that's the metaphysics that gives rise to collapsing those timelines, to collapsing those stories. And so we become less and less bound to them. Because remember, those stories hold information, they hold feelings, they hold hurt and pain. And I'm talking about the stories, again, that cause us negativity, that cause us to feel limited in this world, that cause us to feel fear, shame, grief, blame, injustice, right? And I know the world is full. That's the world of duality. Yet what if we all stopped believing that there is anything to be afraid of? If we gave up the past stories of our cultures, of our ancestors, that is massive, right? Even a feeling that men are bad and women are good, right? That's a huge one. That there's anything to fear in this world. It really is a challenging situation because it invites us to see the world, to be in the world differently. and to live from a space of truth. So I'm going to read for us here, since that is a big part of our theme. I'm going to read a little bit about Dharma. And I found this beautiful, beautiful little paragraph from mindbodygreen.com. Dharma is a Sanskrit word that loosely translates to righteous living, but the original word itself has a far deeper meaning than its direct translation. The ancient Hindu texts of the Vedas describe Dharma as an inner wisdom or a cosmic guidance that governs not only the individual but the universe itself. For a person to follow her Dharma or his Dharma, all they need to do is follow that inner guidance, right? That inner guidance that is always within you. And it sounds easy, but we know that it is a challenge, that it can be hard. It can be difficult to rise above those stories that we've been told. And let me go ahead and have a look at the comment box while we're here. Blessings, Champagne. Well, thank you for joining us. Good morning, April. Blessings, my dear sister, and Will. Moi morning. Blessings, good morning. And Champagne says, I feel I'm dealing with family karma and just finished out, hopefully, my karmic cycle of a relationship. You know, yeah, cycles, patterns. I know for years, I also feel, Champagne, like just recently, just with this new moon and this retrograde that we just came into here today. I think today is the official begin of like the red period of the Mercury retrograde. But the blessing of it is that I feel like, oh, in this reflective mode, I've had an 11-year span of romantic, intimate relationships that had all of these issues. And it's interesting, there was a common thread. There were like 3 specific common threads that went through each of those relationships over a span of 11 years. And something just clicked in me, Champagne. So I bless you if you're feeling that click too, where all of a sudden I was like, I feel like I'm free. I feel like I have forgiven. I get it. Those lessons, those things that I was going through, whether it was family or those romantic relationships, that I see in a new way now. And I do not need to react. I do not need to be triggered. I don't need to perpetuate those cycles. I can start to have new kinds of relationships with my intimate others or with my family and friends. And so blessings, if you're there, girl or gentleman, blessings to you. So the past, your past stories you tell about yourself, the stories you tell yourself, what stories do you tell yourself? What stories does the world tell you about yourself? And how much value do you put into those stories? How much do you agree or disagree with them? And what stories feed you and nourish you and turn you on to your truth? And what stories seem to hinder you? What stories seem to perpetuate you and keep you locked in a limiting realm where you have to keep almost fighting and battling with these stories, with these aspects? And remember, what we tell ourselves is ultimately what is going to drive us, what is going to be the deciding factor in how reality shows up for us. And also, we remember that there's this subconscious realm that we can work on a conscious level, and we can affirm blessings, we can affirm prosperity, we can affirm health and happiness and whatnot, and freedom. Yet we start to bump into, as we begin to then live that freedom, live that health, we might bump into a health issue. We might bump into that same situation again coming up, and we could be like, I thought I was over this. Well, you know what? You are. Those things are bubbling up from a deeper level within you that we're going to go to in our meditation later this morning. But they bubble up so that we can have the opportunity then to see ourselves in a different light, to see things in a new light and not respond, not recreate those same patterns and karmas as we might have in the past. So what stories are you telling yourself about yourself? Take a moment. What's your story right now? What thoughts do you keep hearing yourself tell yourself, about your relationships, about your family? I know recently I've been having a very difficult time with someone very close in my life. And I realized that those karmas, those cycles, they just felt for so long. It was 20 years of healing them. And I've been free. I've been riding the wave of just having this really great experience with this person. Yet in this last couple of weeks, these old feelings, these old roots have started to come up. And we're going to talk about that here shortly as well. Aha, yes, we are. Because other people's projections can influence your karma. Other people's projections can influence your karma. How? We're going to talk about that right now. When you take on their beliefs and judgments. So like that with my story of where I had healed this whole relationship, and I've been able to have this wonderful communion now with this person in my life for many, many years, yet someone close to me who has similar identification with this person that I had the karma with started telling me all of their issues regarding this person over here that I was free with. Yet I started to get sucked in to their story. They are still in a certain cycle with this person over here. I'm done with it. I've been clean. I've been free. Yet this person is telling me what they're going through, their pain, their issues, their fears, their this and that. And it started to trigger me. I was not in a space when I was talking to them of feeling coherent, of feeling aligned, of feeling whole. A part of me was cracking open to go deeper into healing that subconscious wound. And so I took on all of their beliefs, all of their projections, even though deep inside of me, I had been doing all of this work for years to clear up this issue, these issues with this person. Yet this other person telling me all their woes regarding this person started to activate my memory. And I started going there, and I started to get frustrated and impatient and judging then this person over here. And what did it do? It dragged up all those old feelings, all those old issues. And then it started tainting how I was seeing this person over here, when in fact that karma was ready to be free. And ultimately, deep down inside, it is free. That stuff just came up for me to then really decide, for me to look at myself over these past weeks and realize, wow, you've dropped into judging. Again, you've dropped into creating a separation consciousness. And let me bring myself back to allowing those wounds to be healed, to be sealed, to be done. Let me forgive and ultimately forget what I think was there in the first place, so that I can be free, so that I can be free to relax into my Dharma, to relax into my truth, because all of those projections and all of those karmas that limit us hold us back. They keep us in the lila, they keep us in the maya, in the illusion of what's going on here in this 3D reality, as governed by the matrix, by that collective consciousness, and by, well, and what I'm saying when I say collective consciousness or mass consciousness, you know, last week we did our releasing ourselves from mass consciousness. And ultimately we're speaking to those aspects that limit us, those aspects that instill fear, those aspects that do not allow and serve us to experience ourselves free and sovereign, majestic in our majesty, powerful, right? And it doesn't mean you have to go around and wield your power in an inappropriate way, but it means that you are free within yourself. And that is the power that is undeniable when we tap into it. So let's keep reading here. Whatever you think it is, whatever it is, whatever you think it is. So again, what stories are you telling yourself about your relationships with your family, your relationship, how you are capable of attuning or aligning in romantic relationships? What's your story with finances? What's your story with your health, with your body? What memory do you hold and store in your body that is keeping you bound to who you were in the past, to those stories, those things of who you thought you were in the past? And I'm just going to say hello. Off nu. Off nu. That's a beautiful word. That's a beautiful name. That's a beautiful tag. Hello and blessings. Thank you for being here. Champagne says, yes, same pattern. And Champagne asks, can you experience karma from your own mother, for example? Now, what I'm going to consider is that you perhaps are asking, can you experience the karma like that they have? Right? If they come in with a certain karmic pattern regarding money, regarding health, right? Absolutely, we can take that on because we're brought up with it. And even if we don't grow up with that said parent or guardian, there is a subconscious pattern that is ingested into our cellular memory. And so this is part of the lesson. This is part of the pattern to unravel ourselves, again, to come back to who we truly are outside of their stories. And this is it. We are told stories by our family, by our friends, by society, by the media, by social media. And the more that we give allowance to them being the truth, especially those ones that fill us with fear, that fill us with limitations, limited notions of who we are, right? Of scarcity, of lack, that is creating more of that karma. We can say, oh, that's your karma. Thank you. I'll take that on and I'm going to run with that. And perhaps in a way, it is our karma to work with and to deal with. Yet there's a turning point where we can suddenly realize, you know what? I'm done. This does not have to be my karma anymore. And the moment we do that, the moment a new adventure begins, where then the universe will start to give you opportunities to release, to free yourself, to heal, to bless and be blessed, right? And it's work. It's absolutely work. But it's the kind of work that we look forward to doing here at 4D Trinity, because we know ultimately our freedom, our sovereignty, our Dharma, we get to come back to the truth of who we are by allowing ourselves to be free of those patterns, right? So whatever you think it is. Again, if you think it is your family's karma that you're taking on, then that's what it is, and then that's where you work with it from. Yet again, you can switch that and you can say, you know what I think it is, so I'm going to think that this is not my karma anymore, and I'm going to start to release those patterns, those beliefs, or I'm just going to say right now, it is done, and so it is, and drop it. Right? And that takes real powerful mastery to be able to do that, but we can do it. So if all of this world is an illusion, then karma can be dissolved by your mere relinquishing of it. When you drop it, right, it lets go of you. When you drop karma, it drops you. So we think about the Akashic records, we think about the grids even, right? We talk about the grids here as that collective consciousness, that matrix of consciousness that we are all connected to and tied to through all of our thoughts, feelings, emotions of all people, through all time and space, through all dimensions. Yet, when we begin to drop karma, we begin to unplug from those beliefs, from those patterns, and then we drop into a space where there's less gravity. The energy is finer, the frequencies are finer, and we start to really unplug from the stories contained in the Akashic records, the stories contained in that grid landscape of who we think we were, who we think we are, and who we think or have been told we have to be in the world. So we free ourselves, right? No guilt. So if you have harmed others, right? This is a big one. Can you forgive yourself? If you have caused harm to others, can you forgive yourself? When you let go of your karma, you set others free too. We are all interconnected. We hold ourselves and other in the grid. We hold each other in the matrix, right? And when we, let me see if I can read my writing. Okay, and we perpetuate it, right? And we can also unhold, we can let go of that interconnection. So like that situation where I had this person in my life very close to me that I had all sorts of issues with for much of my life, and then went through a massive healing trajectory of 20 years, and all that stuff has been clear, and I've been having a wonderful relationship with this person. Somehow I was at a cycle when this person over here started saying all this stuff and letting go and really getting all this stuff off their chest. It started affecting my chest, my heart, my beliefs, my mind, and I started then being triggered again into this, and that interconnected me and tied me into that realm back with this person on those levels from the grids, on those levels of communicating and relating from those subconscious fears, from those limiting notions of who I thought I was, and what the past meant, the pain of the past, the ills of the past. But the past is done. So again, when I healed all that stuff with this person, I unplugged from the Akashic, from the stories. I unplugged from the grids, from my own stories, from all that stuff. And I was able to relax into the truth in my heart, into my Dharma, and to be deeper aligned with who I could be, who I truly am in relation to this person. And that can go for people, places, and things, our creations, right? The things that we are guided to bring into this earth, the ways that we are guided to hold space. Champagne says, yes, so true. I feel like an outsider since I've been going through my awakening. I know that can happen. That can totally happen. We can feel like an outsider, you know, because we're going inside. And it's a beautiful thing. So, you know, and it's a different landscape, yet one not to fear. One not to fear. You are going outside. We are going outside of the realm of who we thought we were. And these are big. This is like when you really start to crack the code and go beyond those stories of pain, of shame, of ills, of hurt, of all that stuff. You start to go into a realm where you don't know who you are anymore. And that can be very scary. And we do feel like an outsider because we're wondering, how do I live now? How do I acclimate to this new sense of energy? And you know what we call it here? What I call it is that we are entering that authentic realm, that fine, beautiful realm of true self that is related to your Dharma. And that is entering, living in the nowosphere. I have a free book called The Nowosphere. Go in the Show More box later. Free on iBooks, free on Amazon. It's a little mini book, and it is so powerfully potent for these times, for these cycles, when we go through releasing those skins, shedding them, releasing old beliefs and patterns, and then all of a sudden we're naked, and we're like, oh my God, who am I without these stories, without these shields from the past? You know, I was bullied, I was sexually abused, I had all of these things from my childhood growing up. And as I learned to bravely, courageously release those shields, it was a very different world to think I could be in the world and the world is actually a safe place, when my whole life I've been projecting and feeling and really having the true experience that it is not a safe place, and that I have to really protect myself and sort of like be at war and have a defense and an attack reality with the world around me. Yes, I felt like an outsider. It took me many years to acclimate into a place where I could relax into that space, that new space of self, and trust it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So Champagne, if it resonates with you, check out my book, The Nowosphere, and I pray it serves your path. Will says, Neo looks at the bullets and says no. That's right. That's something we say here from time to time. It's like in the movie, that first movie of The Matrix, at the end of it, where Neo becomes, remember, it's a, what is that word called? Where it's a word and then you can move the letters around and it's a different word. Neo actually translates to one. And when Neo realizes that he is actually one with everything, and he realizes his Dharma, his truth, at the end of the movie, you know, he gets shot, all these bullets come at him, and he just looks at the bullets, and because he realizes that he is not a body, that he does not need to perpetuate that karma of those bullets being real and of him having to fear them or having to die because of them. He simply has this, not like it just does not compute in the same way to him. And so those bullets just drop. They have no power over him. And that's where we're going. Our past will soon have no power over us. Given that there are certain karmas where we feel like, well, this might be for life. Maybe you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. That's just a Western saying. But where you come into this life and you have an abundance of finances, an abundance of love, an abundance of health, we could think that that's a certain karma, right? And perhaps in a past life, you have gone through illnesses. You have given to the poor. You have served in such a way that in this life, perhaps you have an opportunity to experience a different reality. It's just a different way to see things. Tammy, blessings. Tammy's here. Yes, definitely. Neo had a holy instant in that moment that those bullies, that those bullies, that those bullets struck. Neo experienced the holy instant where he allowed himself to be free of his karma and live his Dharma. So, karmas. Where in life do we know better? Okay, so where can we drop the judgments? Because every time we have a judgment, we are creating karma. We are creating more of the 3D reality to live into versus being free of those ties that bind us and then having a different experience of living in the nowosphere, which is a different altitude of being. So where in life can we drop the judgments? Can we drop the stories? Where can we be more gentle? Where can we be more gentle? Where can you be more gentle towards yourself and towards others and start to drop those judgments, drop those karmas, because again, they keep perpetuating and creating more of them for us to get tripped up into, us to get plugged into, and then to have more of that experience. Where can we release the sadness, drop the story? It is your story anyway, or is it? Is it your story? So Champagne, going back to that concept of can we take on our family's karma? Is it your story? And this is what we get to adventure, especially when we start to live in the realm of our spiritual practices and we go deep within and we have our ahas and our oneness moment realizations. We start to realize, is that belief in there's no gain without pain, does that resonate with me? Does that respond to me? Is that how I want to have my life show up for me? All men are bad. As a woman in the world, I was told from a very early age by a very dear guardian of mine that all men wanted to do when they looked you in the eyes was have sex with you. I was so young and so little, I didn't know what sex was, but I knew from that moment on it was something to fear in men, and it was something to fear in the world, and it was something to be afraid of through my trajectory of life. Do you know how much that messed with me? Not only just as a woman in the world, and I've done traveling as a woman solo, backpacking, and all that stuff in my head. Every time you see a man, it messed up with me in my intimate relationships too. That was not my karma, right? But I took it on. So in a way, it was my karma for those cycles. It was passed on to me through a family member. That was her story. That was her karma. Yet that's how I was brought up. I was told these things and I didn't know any better. And they locked into my cellular memory. They locked into my subconscious. And so it steered how I interfaced with reality until I realized that I could heal those aspects and I didn't have to perpetuate that karma anymore. And now it is gone. Now I can truly say that I see my brothers and my sisters, right, as my brothers and my sisters. I can drop that judgment. Now, this is not to say that when your gut, when your heart, when your soul, when your spirit, when your ancestors, your guides, your guardians, right, when they say, don't go into that room or don't drive down that alley. You know, there's always our intuition guiding us for our highest good. So it's not to say that we don't listen to that divine guidance that is within us, right? But it is to say that we don't go out into the world perpetuating that karma. So just on that point, because we can perpetuate it, because of that story that I was told as a 5-year-old and growing up and having to deal with and how it conflicted in my head of being a woman in the world, I lived, oh, we'll have to come back to it. It's the God phone, everyone. It's the God phone. Blessings. Good morning, God. How are you? God is great. Fantastic. Yes, I know it's supposed to thunder and rain today out here in the desert, in much of California too. Oh, blessings. God says hello, everyone. Good morning. Ooh, today we're going to read a little bit out of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, an ancient Indian text. I love that. Okay, regarding karma. Well, thank you. Blessings and namaste. Fantastic. Oh, thank you. Blessings. All right. God sends love and light to everyone. So I'm going to read from this, but just to finish that little story, I lived in a neighborhood that was very, very rough. And because my cycles of going through breaking the chains of that story from me were coming up, I had such fear. I lived in a neighborhood where there was a lot of men and there was a lot of machismo energy, a lot of sexual energy. And every time I left to walk to the subway, I lived in New York at that time, I would be hounded by all of these men, by all of these frequencies, just trying to mess with me, trying to bully me, trying to sexually just like poke and trigger me and mess with me. And I remember I would be in so much fear and I would stand outside the door before I'd have to go to work or go wherever it was. And I would be fearing. I'd spend about 5 minutes sitting there going, oh, dear God, I'm going to have to deal with all these issues and all these men bullying me and like poking at me and making sexual comments. And I would sit there and I would perpetuate those karmas through my thoughts. I was setting up metaphysically those little landmines for me to walk through. So of course, when I left the apartment, I was filled with fear. I was filled with that was what my reality was going to be. And so when I went to walk to the bus stop, that's exactly what I got. As those issues healed, I still lived in that same neighborhood. And over a trajectory of a year, I had healed those issues to the point where I did not spend 5 minutes before I walked out the door, right, to interface with these men that I was told as a child to feel unsafe with, or all they want to do is have sex with me when they look me in the eye. Instead, I spent that 5 minutes knowing what I was going out into, but sending love and light ahead of myself and deciding, right? Back then, I called myself a warrior, deciding that I would walk with my head held high and that I would look, that I would consciously make eye contact with these men and I would give them the nod of knowing. And I would just be like, I see you. I see your love. I see your light. And in that way, I changed my karma. I changed the reality, the way that they interfaced with me, those realities of feeling bullied, of feeling like sexually poked and prodded, just walking down the street, began to dissolve. I collapsed those timelines of my past. And we can all do that from all different levels and dimensions of our past, of our stories. So let's go ahead and read. So God wants us to read today from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And this is a translation by Sri Swami Satchitananda. So this is so cool. We're starting to branch out a little bit in our God phone sequence of what we're being given as information to place with this 4D Trinity, with these teachings. So this is from book 4, and it is Sutra 7. The actions of the yogi are neither white nor black, but the actions of others are of 3 kinds, good, bad, and mixed. The esoteric meaning of white and black is good and bad, or pure and impure. But in the yogi's case, there is no pure or impure karma. As a yogi, your actions are performed with such equanimity that you don't bring them into either category. You are above good and bad. We are above the grid. We are aligned in the heart. We are beyond those stories in the Akashic records, for example. Like that, the yogi is not an agent for his or her actions. The yogi is above the dualities. For a normal person, however, actions are of 3 kinds, good, bad, and a mixture of the 2. Part of any act may be good, part may be bad. For example, you may do something beautiful, but your motive may be a little selfish. The act is good, but the motive is bad. It's good for others, but not for you. So you can see the difference between a yogi's karma and the karma of others, right? Others might say, oh, this is good, I did it perfectly, or oh, I goofed, this is just so-so. But with a yogi, you cannot categorize it in that way. So this is beautiful. And you know what? The sutra right before it, Sutra 6, says, only the minds born of meditation are free from karmic impressions. So we're going to get into this. And you know what? I realize I have to turn on, pardon me 1 second, this little fan under my computer so that it stays nice and cool and refreshed. So this is so beautiful, this Yoga Sutra, because it speaks to the yogi within all of us. We have the capacity to go beyond, again, the duality of the reality as it's been shown to us, to go beyond the good and the bad, the fear and the love. We have the opportunity to align with love and only love. And that's where the yogi consciousness is, according to this Yoga Sutra passage. That's where we can ascend to, is to, even when we see someone doing an act that may be termed as bad or good, we can simply observe it and be a witness and not have to get into the interplay of being like, ooh, that is so bad, you are going to be effed up for that one. Or that is so good, you're going to be so blessed. We move beyond the dualities of judging anything and everything. And as we move beyond those dualities, we can, in a greater sense, rest and reside within that spaciousness of our heart, within that one love, that unity consciousness. And my Tai Chi teacher this week reminded me, such a beautiful teacher. I am a yoga teacher for many years as well. And there's so many similarities I see in the practice, energetically, spiritually, with Tai Chi as there is with yoga. And he said, we are not doing Tai Chi. We are practicing these forms so that we can experience Tai Chi, which is very similar to yoga. When we do our yoga, we are not doing yoga, right? We are performing certain practices so that we can abide in the experience, the feeling, realization of yoga. And what are these terms, yoga and Tai Chi? It is that divine balance, the divine alignment of those parts within us that give rise to us then going beyond the us that we think we are in the 3D, the stories we've been told, where we have that access point, to the unity, to that coherence of consciousness that always is, that is one. We can call it source, we can call it God, we can call it love, some call it universe, yet it is so omnipresent, it is so omniscient, it is so beyond just the size of the universe. We can think of it as a power greater than ourselves, right? That we become attuned with. And in that sacred space of attuning with that sacred oneness, with that power, we come to remember our power, our truth, our Dharma. So, is it your story anyway? It's all mind stuff. We can drop into the heart center. The heart center, again, is your Dharma center. Karma equals time. Dharma equals sovereignty. Karma equals time, again, because the more that we allow those stories, those feelings, especially those ones that don't feel good to us, when we allow ourselves to perpetuate those notions, those feelings, those judgments, those agreements with those stories, we're creating more time. We're creating more of that. We're planting the seeds for more of that reality to show up with us, for us, so that we can duel with it, so that we can battle with it, so that we can have our exchange with it. But as we drop away from those karmas, we rest in our Dharma, right? Which is free of time. It is you being free, not from, okay, so living your Dharma is you being free. And it's not necessarily just being free of like the man or of corporations or of physical institutions and laws and beliefs. We begin to come into a space of being free, really free within ourselves, in the domain of our heart space, in the domain of this place we find ourselves. And it is such a very powerful place to be, because we begin to realize that the corporations and the laws and the man and the government or whatever things that we feel could be suppressing us, oppressing us, that they don't really even exist. It is us deciding our karma, us deciding how we will respond, how we will react to what is given to us, that will in turn co-create future realizations, future realities. Karma adds time. Dharma subtracts time. When we have an experience where we react to it in a way that's going to add more of it, again, we add more time and space. We add more of that for us to experience. When we pause and we drop into the heart space and we say, what would my higher self say? What would my higher self do? What does the heart in me really, truly urge me to do or be or embody in this moment, versus what does my head say? What is my knee-jerk reaction? Then we start to free ourselves from time. We subtract time. We collapse time. And like a balloon, we levitate above the world, above the grid, above the matrix of mass consciousness, of that duality, just like the yogi, where nothing is good or bad, where we are simply just being, right? Neo, when those bullets came, perhaps we can consider that he wasn't thinking like, bullets bad, let me just not believe in them and they'll go away. He just looked at those bullets and he had no mind about them at all. There was no trigger. There was no consciousness related to them at all. So they could not respond. The bullets coming at him had to drop. He collapsed time because he had no mind about what that was supposed to mean, those bullets coming to him. Side story, years ago, I was held up at gunpoint. And well, held up to a fashion. I was walking along the sidewalk in LA, and a man started following me along the street, right? I was walking on the sidewalk and he was in a car right next to me. And he started saying, give me your purse. And it didn't compute in my head. And number one, because of my old story of men and fearing sex and all this stuff, it had been a past occurrence where men would follow me, where men would drive and follow me, where men would walk and follow me. Like, this was a part of my karma that attached itself to that story as I worked it out. And I grew up in Ireland for 10 years, and a lot of the verbiage from Ireland is still with me. And in Ireland, what we call here your purse, they call a handbag. And so I could hear this voice driving next to me as I'm walking on the sidewalk saying, give me your purse. And I thought, I don't have a purse, because I didn't have a purse, right? I had a handbag. And so the karma, his thing that he wanted to link into me, like the bullets, I had no mind of. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, I don't even have a purse. I'm going to just ignore, because this is just Back then, I used to call it in a bubble of light, stupid male energy, inappropriate male energy, just following me as per I'd had many times before. So I just ignored him. The car kept following me for another block, and he kept getting angry. Give me your purse, lady. And I thought, I don't have a purse. I even looked over my shoulder. I didn't look at him. I looked over my shoulder, and I was like, did I drop something? I don't understand. Why is this person? I was so naive and blissfully ignorant in that moment that I didn't get it. The bullets I didn't get. And he kept following me for another block, and he kept getting more and more angry. And I looked at him. And I remember I looked at him, and I stopped walking, and I looked, and in the car, he was sitting there with a gun in his hand, cocked to the side, leaning out the window, pointing the gun right at my head. And I looked at him for 2 seconds, and I looked away, and I kept walking. That was my neo, right, experience. I kept walking, and he got frustrated. Within that moment that I kept walking, 2 seconds later, a mail truck, a UPS or a mail truck came around the corner, and I turned and I looked at it, and he turned and looked at it, and he sped off and went around the corner. And then suddenly I was going, OMG, it triggered in my head what had just happened. And I thought, okay, run, get out, get out. And I was almost home. I was 2 blocks at that point away from home, and I saw a neighbor on the corner watering their lawn. And I ran over to him, and I was like, oh my God, can I just hang out with you for a minute? There was this guy who was following me, da, da, da. And anyway, it worked out fine. That guy with the gun disappeared. Meanwhile, though, I had no idea that he was following me for all of those minutes with a gun cocked, pointed at me, telling me, give me your purse. There was no translation. I didn't understand what he was asking for, because on my head was saying, I have a handbag. I don't have a purse. And to the point where I was so disassociated with what this could even mean, that when I actually looked at him and I saw the gun, I couldn't believe it. I was in such a space of like, this is so not happening. This is so not my reality. I'm so not buying this. And I kept walking, that he went away. That reality disappeared. So what is your Neo moment? Where can you bring in your inner Neo? Okay, very, very powerful. So I subtracted time, and like a balloon, I levitated above the world and above the grid, and you can too. Karma adds entanglements. Dharma adds us. Karma adds entanglements and adds us to the grid, makes it thicker, makes the story bigger and broader. Dharma frees us into the now moment. It is the synchronicity and the flow of being and allowing, right? So that's our Dharma. It's living in the now moment. It is free, free, free. It is free, free, free of those ties that bind us. Think about the stories you've been told about the world by your parents, by your family, by the media, by your culture and traditions, by your societies. What serves you and what no longer serves you? What are you ready to be free of? We are moving into a place of being in the world. When we live our Dharma, we are moving into a place of being in the world and not being defined by the world. And I have to give props. That is from a pastor, Dave Evans, that I follow. Being in the world, yet not being defined of it. And if you're interested, my latest book, How to Live, The Law of Vibration, this is all about coming into the truth of our hearts, coming into living that truth within you. You know, when we live our truth, I believe that there is a pattern. There is a beautiful, graceful tapestry that we tap into every time we allow ourselves to live more and more of our truth. We allow that to shine through, and it then begins to illuminate a different, if you'd like, karma, a different set of circumstances for us to be met with, for us to interact with. It creates a different holodeck, a different hologram. We are multidimensional beings, and we live in a multidimensional universe. Everything is possible at any given moment. So what are we choosing? Are we choosing to perpetuate the stories that bind us to lack, to fear, to shame, to guilt? Can we forgive? Can we forget? Can we release and come into the now moment? And from that place, be freed of all that stuff that distracts us and sit into, well, what am I? Who am I? And how would our lives be different if we were simply honoring that who you are, that what you are? I can tell you, yes, it will. And yes, it does. So we're going to come into our meditation now. So take a moment and allow yourself to get comfy. We're going to work with the drum today. And we're going to move into both the subconscious and conscious realms. So we'll take a moment to take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. We call in our angels, our guides, ascended masters, all light beings who love us, our animal totems, our ancestors that are here to serve us in the highest light and love only. We call you in and we welcome you, all the love and light of all dimensions, all time and space of this entire universe, of the cosmos, of the omniscient oneness. We call in that love and that light, and we welcome you. We welcome you. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Another deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And we're going to travel into the heart space. Imagine you can leave your body as it is here, seated or reclined comfortably, and you can shrink yourself down, shrink a version, a part of yourself down, and drop right into your heart center. Imagine this miniature version of yourself sitting peacefully in the center of your heart, filled with love, surrounded by love, all of your guides, all of your angels. And from this version of ourselves in our heart, we're going to travel. We're going to imagine through this version of ourselves sitting at the center of our hearts, we're going to drop into a meditation. This version of yourself, this miniature version of you is sitting in meditation in your heart center now, inside this body as spirit. And we're going to imagine this small version of self is going to find the closest sink, the closest bathtub, the closest piping that it can enter energetically. It's going to just fly from your body, still connected to your body as an extension of you. It's going to fly and zoom into that opening, whether it's a sink, whether it's a bathtub. You're going to fly and move into that opening where the water would flow when you turn on the faucet. You're going to start to move down, down through the piping, down, down through the levels and layers of the building where you are. You're going down, 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 down. Down, down, down. You feel the descent. And from this place, you arrive into a very beautiful, dark realm. Only dark because it looks that way at first. And you see as you come in tune with your surroundings that they become brighter and brighter, lit by that love in your heart. You look to your left, you look to your right, and you see your animal totems with you here. And it is here you begin to walk forward. You notice you are barefoot. You notice there is sand under your feet, moving in and out of your toes as you walk. You're walking forward, and that darkness has turned to light, and you see light all around you. And you continue walking forward until you see an elevator. You see an elevator, and the doors open, and you walk inside. You step in, and the doors close. And the elevator takes you down, 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 down. Very swiftly. You might even feel your knees give way. You might even feel your tummy feel a little funny as you go down, 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 down. And we are entering the subconscious realm. You imagine that elevator taking you into the root chakra, into the base space of you, where those stories, those beliefs, those identifications are held. The elevator stops and the doors open. What do you see in front of you? Where are you? Take a moment as you walk outside of the elevator. Notice under your feet. Notice your surroundings. Walk out a little further. Where are you in this subconscious realm? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Take a breath in and a full breath out. You notice a pathway where you are and you begin to walk upon the pathway. You notice there are small rocks guiding the path. A dirt pathway now, surrounded by rocks on either side, winding, taking you deeper into this landscape you find yourself now. And it is here you see a rock. And you come to climb onto that rock and sit in meditation. You sit in meditation upon this rock. You close your eyes here and you invite in the people where there is karma with, that you are aware of now, the people in your life, your family, that you have karma with now, that you are ready to release, that you are ready to bless and place forgiveness there. See these people one by one approach you in this meditation as you sit on this rock. See them come up to you. They have something to tell you. Listen to what they have to say about this story, about this karmic pattern that you feel connected to. Listen to what they have to tell you now. Know that it is their story. And how would you respond if you are ready to relinquish, to set yourself free, to set them free from these karmic stories, these karmic ties? How would you respond now as your higher self? What would you say to them? What would you say? Hear yourself, see yourself talking to them now. And it is done. Bow at namaste with them and let it be done. Free yourself of that karma to the degree that you are ready to release now. It is done. You see them gently walk away and you look to your left and your right and you see your animal totems sitting with you by your side at this rock. And as this person walks away, you consider who you are now, who you would be without those karmic ties. Take a moment in this heart space, in this meditation, to see yourself. Let your Dharma self, let the truth in your heart self show you how your life will be different, how your life is different right now, from you releasing those ties that bound, from you freeing yourself from that karma. See yourself now free. Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? What are you wearing? What are you doing? Is there anyone there with you? Take a snapshot of that feeling realization, that feeling of freedom. And imagine, energetically, that snapshot lands in your hand like a picture. Look at that picture, soak it in, and then put that picture in your pocket and bless it. And you see now another person in your life coming forward. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a teacher from school, whoever it is, where you have karmic ties with, that you are ready to release, you are ready to work out now. See them coming forward. And again, they have a message for you. They have their part of the story. Whatever it is, take a moment and listen. What do they have to tell you now? Notice how you feel as they tell you their side of the story. Maybe where they got the story from. You are listening. You are observing. You are witnessing and not reacting. And now, if there is anything to say back to them, hear yourself sharing in return. You might say that you are consciously relinquishing the past. You are consciously releasing those notions, those beliefs. You're letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook. Whatever you need to tell them now, to relinquish, to free yourself from that karma, from those ties, from those stories. Tell them now. Watch them soak it in. Watch them listen. Speak your truth fearlessly, fiercely. And hear them listen, see them listen, feel them get it on a higher level, on a deeper level. And once you're finished, bow in namaste with them and see them bowing in namaste back with you. And then drop into that feeling realization as they walk away from you now, as you sit on this rock surrounded by your totem animals. Who would you be now? How would your life be different? What would you be doing differently? How would you express yourself differently in your beautiful life, in this beautiful world, free of that karma? See yourself now free. Who is the truth of you within? See yourself living that, embodying that, breathing that, being that now. Again, what are you wearing? Where are you? Where are you in the world in this vision? You could be anywhere. What are you doing or not doing? How do you feel? Free of the stories, free of the karma. And it's okay if you're a little scared, but underneath that fear, there may be excitement. See yourself in this vision now and take a snapshot, and instantly that snapshot appears in your hand as a photograph. Look at that photograph. Soak it in, breathe it in, and place that photograph in your pocket. And again, another person walks up into your vision as you sit on this rock. Who are they? They are someone you hold karmas with. They are someone where you've taken on their karma. You've taken on their story. Perhaps it's you from the past. Perhaps it's you from a past life. Where are you ready to release now? With these people, with these stories, with these versions of who you have been, that you may be free into your Dharma. They have a message for you. Listen, listen, listen. Listen to what they have to say now. They look you in the eyes and they tell you. What do they tell you? Hear them and soak it in. And now it's your turn to speak, to convey, perhaps it's telepathically in this vision, to speak and convey your truth. Tell them your side of the story. And then, further than that, let them know you are ready to relinquish the dance. You are ready to relinquish that dance of karma with them, that story that you have both held each other in certain time and space, in a certain dance with each other. You thank them, you forgive them, you bless them, you release, you release, you release. And with that, you bow in namaste with one another and they begin to walk away. How do you see yourself? Who would you be in their presence? Who would you be in the world without that story? How would you feel free? How would you feel sovereign? How would you feel connected to your Dharma? Who are you without that story? See yourself now. See yourself. See yourself. What does your heart show you? Who are you without that? What are you wearing? Where are you in the world? What are your circumstances? How do you feel? Take a breath in, soak it in. Take a picture, a snapshot of that feeling realization, of that vision of yourself. Look at that picture in your hand. Take a moment, soak it in. See yourself free, free in your Dharma, in your truth. Fierce, in your power, grounded. And place that photograph in your pocket. Now you're going to gently step down from this rock where you have been seated. You thank the rock. Your animal totems gather with you and you walk back down that pathway, that dirt pathway, surrounded by little rocks guiding you back. And you come to that elevator. The doors open. The doors open. There are no buttons on the inside. Your animal totems come in with you and the doors close and you go up, 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 up. You feel your tummy again. You're moving up, 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 up into the heart center. The doors open. The doors open and you come out in this beautiful, luscious pink and peach, astral colors, light blue, pastel greens. Everywhere. There is no up, there is no down, there is no forward and back. You are simply being in and about these colors of your heart. And these colors start to transform. And you begin to see a beautiful ocean ahead of you, a beautiful landscape, a beautiful blue sky. Frothy, warm waves wash up to the shore. You feel the sand under your bare feet and you begin to walk towards the water. You begin to take your clothes off. As much clothing to release as you are comfortable to. And you begin to enter the waters. Maybe your animal totems come with you. Maybe they stay on the sand. You begin to walk into the waters to be cleansed. The waves wash up. You feel that water running over your toes, your feet, your ankles, your calves, and splashing you. You walk in and you wade in deeper and deeper still. And you decide to take that plunge and soak yourself right in under. Get your head in under those waves. And you're washed. You see a wave coming. You see a wave coming and you dive under that wave and it washes you clean. It washes you clean of those old stories. You see another wave coming, and you dive under that wave and it washes you clean. It washes you clean. Those stories, those karmas, those ties. Beautiful Mother Nature washing you, cleansing. You feel so supported in this salty, beautiful ocean water. You breathe in this beautiful day, this beautiful atmosphere. You are safe here. You are beautiful. You are true. You are cleansed. You see another wave washing and you know it's for you. You prepare and you dive under that wave and it washes over you, cleansing you, clearing you. You feel it through your hair. You feel that water swirling around your body. And you take a moment in this water And any actions you feel guided to do, maybe you just float, maybe you swim, maybe you just stand and you look around. Take a moment to be here now as these beautiful, gentle waters wade around you, wash and swirl around you. You are cleansed. You are free. You thank the waters. You thank the ocean, the sun, the sky, the sand, and you begin to make your way out from the water, gently walking out back to the shore. You sit on the sand, and very quickly you are dried from the beautiful warmth of the sunny day. You place your clothing on, and you begin to walk away from the ocean. Take a moment to look over your shoulder and remember who you are here now, cleansed, free, and clear. You continue walking with your animal totems, and now you see a door. Look at the handle of the door, look at the color of the door, and notice what the door looks like. You see your hand turning the handle of the door. The door opens and there are steps going up, 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 up. You begin to walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you arrive to a different plateau, a different landscape. You have now arrived to your third eye, to your ability to see light sight, to envision oneness and unity consciousness. You have arrived into the center of your third eye, into the pineal gland. Notice what it looks like for you here on this morning. And from this space, in this pineal gland, you find a beautiful area to take a seat. And from your pocket, you reach for the 3 photographs, those 3 pictures that you gathered in that subconscious realm of you. You lay them out in front of you and you look at those snapshots, those visions of who you are, free of those karmas, those visions of who you are, free of those stories, where you are in the world, what you're doing in the world, how you feel, even more important than anything, how do you feel as this free version of yourself? You look at these pictures, you say a blessing over each of them. You honor and acknowledge that they are a part of your truth, that they are a part of your truth. And you take those 3 pictures and you begin to stack them on top of one another and fold them up into little squares, until it's a tiny little size, the size of a small cookie. And indeed, those pictures turn into your favorite treat, your favorite cookie, or your favorite treat and delight. You hold that item in your hands in a prayer, and you hold that prayer into the space in alignment with your third eye. You pray your REIKI blessings, you pray your alignment, your affinity over these versions of this true part of you, these true aspects of yourself, your Dharma self. When you are plugged in, turned on, and in love with yourself, you bless it over the third eye of self, and then you eat it. You place those pictures that are now your favorite cookie, your favorite delight. You eat that, you take it into your mouth, and you savor, and you chew, and you feel how good it tastes to welcome in these versions of you. You chew and you swallow. You begin to take in and absorb the nutrients of these visions, these versions of you, into your body, into your bloodstream, into your cellular memory. There is new memory now within you, into your bones, into your muscles, and into your aura, into your energy field. And once you have swallowed all of this beautiful, delightful gift. Once again, you say thank you to your higher self, to yourself, that true self within, and you begin to walk back to the stairs. You're at the top of the stairs, and we're going to walk now back down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You see the door. You see the door handle. You see your hand. You turn the door. You open the door. And you come back into the space of your heart. You come back into that space that you had shrunk yourself down into, that miniature version of yourself at the heart. And you know here that you have taken stories in your subconscious, stories from deep within you, that you are ready to release, to heal, to be free of those karmas. And you have worked that out from the root, from the subconscious realm of you, and aligned it with your heart and your third eye. You are now consciously aligned, balanced, centered, and empowered in your Dharma, in the truth of you, in you able to live your true self patterns, your true self power. And from this small version of you in your heart, you begin to move energetically up, up, up. You find that gateway, that opening, that sandy ground under your feet that leads you into that entranceway back up through the piping that you came in through, that hole, that bathtub hole or that sink hole. You begin to move up, 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 and around, winding up, 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 and around through that piping until you come back up, 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 and out into that sink or into that bathtub and back into your own heart. And that small version of yourself begins to grow and activate. And with 3 breaths, we are going to inhale into that heart space, into all of this divine nourishment, this wisdom that we have garnered on this morning. And we're going to breathe that out into our aura with divine light. So we're going to inhale into this heart space, fill it up, see an orb of light. And as we exhale, expanding that consciousness, expanding this new level, this new consciousness, this new ways of you being out into your field. And again, a deep breath in, breathing light into that orb that is now growing and growing from your heart space. And as you exhale, you blow out and you expand this orb of light greater and greater, wider and wider, all around your body. And one more deep inhale, breathing light into this beautiful orb straight into your heart center. And as you exhale again, just strengthening, firing up this beautiful orb of light, this love and light realization of who you are as your truth, living your Dharma, free and sovereign here and now. And so it is. And so it is. Feel that for a moment now. Feel how beautiful, how powerful that freedom truly is. Notice that your energy has shifted. You have had a shift in consciousness. We'll take our time to slowly open the eyes and bring awareness back to this space. Of course I have to. Wow, so very powerful. I'm so very grateful to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for going on this journey every Thursday, being with me here. I'm so very grateful. I pray that this medicine really serves you and helps you to understand and awaken new aspects of realizing your truth, and that you do not need to perpetuate those stories of the past. You do not need to take on other people's karmas. We begin to realize that we can be free in this moment, and it all begins with how we think, what we agree to, how we react, and where we place our energy. So again, thank you so much, everyone, always for joining me here at 4D Trinity. Every Thursday, we go live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are not on my mailing list through my website, the link is the first link down below in the show more box. Go to my website. It'll be the first page you see. Sign up, subscribe, and you will receive my book, The Higher Self, Blueprint of Mastery. May all of the gifts that we share here together truly serve us our well-being, our joy, our bliss, our freedom. I'm so very grateful. With so much love, I love you. I appreciate you. Namaste, and thank you again. Blessings. I'm going to sign out here and look at these comments. You're welcome, April. Blessings. Blessings. So much.